Foods that prevent stroke in seniors. These 8 nutrients could save your life. My dear friends, there's a truth that many of us don't like to face after 60. Our bodies simply aren't the same anymore. Our steps may slow down. Our memory might pause here and there. And our blood vessels, the rivers that nourish the brain, become more fragile, more easily blocked, more easily inflamed. And stroke, that word we've all heard, but one that still makes people shiver, often strikes like a sudden storm on a clear day. In my 30 years of working with thousands of patients over the age of 50, I've seen families torn apart by a single unexpected stroke. I've had patients who enjoyed a cheerful dinner one evening, and by the next morning were lying silently in a hospital bed. But I've also seen the other side, men and women who made changes, small but consistent, a better lifestyle, healthier meals. And they're still walking, still talking, still enjoying their golden years with strength and dignity. Modern science gives us a powerful hope. Stroke is not always destiny. In fact, research shows that by taking better care of your body, especially through nutrition, you can cut your risk of stroke by 30, even 50%. Imagine that half of all strokes could be prevented simply by what we put on our plates every single day. Before we dive deeper, if you haven't subscribed yet, I truly encourage you to hit that button and turn on the bell. Every week I share health tips designed especially for people over 50, and I don't want you to miss the chance to live healthier, longer, and stronger. So what exactly is a stroke? What is a stroke? When we're young, we often think stroke is something far away, something that only happens to someone else, someone we don't know. But the truth is very different. A stroke is like a switch in the brain. Once it flips off, the entire body can change in an instant. Medically speaking, a stroke happens when the blood flow to the brain gets cut off. Now think about this. The brain may be small, only about 2% of our body weight, but it demands nearly 20% of the oxygen and nutrients every single minute. If blood stops flowing for just a few minutes, brain cells begin to die and the damage can't be reversed. What's truly frightening about stroke isn't only that it can take a life, but that it can leave lasting scars and arm that will never move again. A voice that never sounds the same, a face that stays permanently uneven. I once had a patient, a father, who was once the strong pillar of his family, reduced to depending on his children for every bite of food after just one stroke. But here's the thing, understanding stroke isn't about living in fear. It's about taking charge. When you know your enemy by name, when you understand where it comes from, then you have the power to stop it before it's too late. If you're still with me right now and you find this information helpful, type the number 1 in the comments to let me know you agree. And now let's move forward together to explore the hidden causes that silently lead to stroke. What causes a stroke, you might be wondering. So what actually causes a stroke? Why is it that some people stay sharp and healthy well into their 70s while others collapse in their early 50s? The answer isn't just one single factor. It's the accumulation of years. Our habits, our choices, and the natural changes inside our bodies. First, there's high blood pressure, the silent killer. Think of it like a powerful current constantly crashing against a riverbank. Day after day, it wears down the vessel walls, making them weaker and more likely to break. Then comes atherosclerosis, or hardening of the arteries. When we eat too much unhealthy fat, sugar, and salt, they cling to the vessel walls like rust building up inside a water pipe. At first, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but over time, it narrows the arteries, slowing down blood flow. And if just one of those fatty plaques breaks loose, it can trigger an immediate stroke. And that's not all. Diabetes, obesity, smoking, heavy drinking, they all pile more weight on the circulatory system. Then, of course, there's age, the one thing none of us can escape. After 65, our vessels lose elasticity, the brain becomes more sensitive, and the risk of stroke multiplies. Now, I know that sounds frightening, but here's the key. Understanding the causes is the first step to prevention. Just like knowing where the roof might leak allows you to fix it before the rain comes. And here's the good news. Beyond controlling blood pressure and diabetes, nutrition is one of the most powerful tools we have to keep our blood vessels strong and our minds clear. What I'm about to share next could truly change the way you think about your daily meals. So if you believe this is important, type yes in the comments below. Now let's step into the next part together, the essential nutrients for preventing stroke after the age of 65. 1. Vitamin B12, the gatekeeper for your brain and nerves. If there's one nutrient I almost always bring up with my older patients right at the first visit, it's vitamin B12. A lot of folks think of B12 as just the blood vitamin, but really it's the guardian that keeps our nervous system running smoothly. It helps make red blood cells, protects the myelin sheath around your nerves, and lowers a substance called homocysteine. When homocysteine builds up, it damages blood vessels and raises your stroke risk. I remember one patient, Mr. John, 68 years old, who came to my clinic complaining of months of fatigue, some numbness in his legs, and his family worried because he was getting forgetful. After some simple blood work, the answer was clear. He was low on B12. With guided supplementation within just a few weeks, his energy came back, the tingling eased, and his daughter told me, "It feels like Dad is himself again." Stories like John's aren't rare. Low B12 can masquerade as just aging or even early dementia, but when caught in time, many symptoms can actually improve. So how does B12 really work? It fuels the production of red blood cells and helps maintain myelin, that insulation that protects your nerves. Alongside folate and vitamin B6, it also transforms homocysteine into a safer form. Large reviews of research show that bringing homocysteine levels down with these B vitamins, including B12, can cut stroke risk by 12 to 15%. That's not a small number. Think of how many lives could be spared from sudden brain attacks. But why are people over 65 especially at risk of deficiency? As we age, our stomach produces less acid, which is needed to free B12 from food. Common medications like proton pump inhibitors for heartburn or metformin for diabetes make absorption worse. And then there's pernicious anemia, an autoimmune condition, where the body stops making the intrinsic factor required to absorb B12. Vegans and strict vegetarians are also at risk since B12 mainly comes from animal-based foods. What should you look out for? Unusual fatigue muscle, weakness, numbness, or tingling in the hands and feet, balance problems, memory lapses, or pale skin. If you notice one or more of these, don't just chalk it up to getting older. Ask your doctor for a blood test. The standard test measures serum B12, and sometimes we add methylmalonic acid, MMA, or homocysteine to see how well your body's actually using it. In terms of numbers, many experts recommend that older adults keep B12 above about 400 pg/ml, even if the lab says normal starts much lower. The safest approach is to test, diagnose, and then decide together with your doctor how much you might need. As for food, the best sources are simple beef liver, salmon, tuna, sardines, eggs, Greek yogurt, and cheese. For vegetarians, fortified foods like cereals or nutritional yeast can help. And if absorption is poor, daily supplements, say 250 to 500 micrograms, or injections for more serious deficiencies are options. High doses used short-term are safe, but you shouldn't stay on high doses for months without knowing why you were low in the first place. Here's a practical tip. Breakfast with eggs and yogurt or a slice of whole grain toast with a little cheese gives you a nice dose of B12. For my vegetarian friends, look for fortified products. And don't be shy about asking your doctor about a supplement. Before I close this section, let me ask you, in the past month, have you felt a kind of unexplained fatigue, tingling in your hands or feet, or been more forgetful than usual? If yes, that may be your body's gentle way of whispering, check my B12. It's a simple blood draw, but it can truly change your quality of life. So here's my advice as a physician, but also as a friend in your age group, and don't wait until symptoms become severe. At your next checkup, talk to your doctor about testing B12, especially if you're over 60 on acid-blocking medications or eat very little animal protein. It's a small action, but it could give you many more good days with your family. 2. Hydration and electrolytes. In the last section, we talked about how nutrition plays a critical role in protecting people over 65 from stroke. And now I want to begin with something that seems almost too simple yet is often overlooked: water. You see, we spend so much time thinking about supplements, vitamins, and fancy health products that we forget our bodies are at the core a little ocean. More than 60% of who we are is water. And when that water level drops, the blood flowing through our vessels becomes thicker, sluggish, harder to move. It's like a river in a drought: low water, slow current, silt settling at the bottom, and sooner or later a blockage forms. In our blood vessels, that blockage is called a clot, the number one trigger for stroke. I think of one patient, Mrs. Margaret, 74 years old. She often felt lightheaded with mild headaches in the afternoon. Her daughter assumed it was just normal aging. But when I asked about her routine, I discovered she only drank a single glass of water in the morning and another at night, nothing in between. After we made a simple change, 5 to 6 small glasses of water throughout the day, plus a little fresh orange juice at lunch, within a few weeks, her mind felt clearer, her fatigue eased, and even her sleep improved. Sometimes the solution is so simple we hesitate to believe it. Have you ever felt thirsty but brushed it off because it wasn't time for water yet? Or noticed your lips dry, your skin dull, and thought, that's just aging? In truth, those might be your body's way of saying, I need water. And it's not just about water, it's also about electrolytes. I like to call them the tiny salts that keep the river flowing smoothly. Potassium, magnesium, sodium. These keep the body in balance, the heart beating in rhythm, and blood pressure steady. Think of electrolytes as the conductor of an orchestra. If the conductor loses rhythm, the whole performance collapses. In our bodies, when potassium or magnesium run low, the heart skips beats, blood pressure swings, and the risk of stroke rises. The good news: natural electrolytes are right within reach. A banana in the morning, a warm bowl of vegetable soup at lunch, a refreshing glass of coconut water in the afternoon, all simple, all nourishing. And for older adults, I recommend sipping small amounts often rather than gulping large volumes at once. Think of it like a gentle stream flowing steadily instead of a sudden downpour that dries up quickly. I know some of you may worry, doctor, if I drink more water, won't I wake up all night to use the bathroom? That's a fair concern. My tip is this: drink most of your water in the morning and afternoon, then taper off toward the evening. At night, if you're thirsty, just take a sip or two, not a full glass. Of course, there are exceptions. If you have kidney disease or heart failure, water and electrolytes need to be carefully tailored with your doctor. More is not always better in medicine. Balance is always the key. I want you to picture this: waking up one morning with a clear head, steady steps, no dizziness, no wobbling. Simply by keeping up with hydration and adding a few natural electrolytes, that image can become your reality. So before you rush to complex solutions, start with the simplest one. Drink a glass of water. That glass doesn't just ease your thirst, it quietly protects your brain and your heart. If you're still with me right now, let me ask you, how many glasses of water have you had today? Share it in the comments. I believe writing it down makes you more aware and more committed to your own health. And now that we understand the role of water and electrolytes, let's move on to the next nutrient, one of the quiet warriors that protects our blood vessels from calcium buildup: vitamin K2. 3. Vitamin K2. In the last part, we talked about water and electrolytes, the foundation for smooth blood flow. But now I want to introduce you to a very special nutrient. It's not something people mention often, yet it works like a silent gatekeeper for your heart and blood vessels. That nutrient is vitamin K2. You see, many people think the more calcium they take, the stronger their bones will be. That's partly true, but not the whole picture. I've seen plenty of patients who took calcium pills every single day for years, only to find that their bones were still weak, while their arteries were starting to harden. And that hardening the calcium deposits sticking to artery walls is exactly what narrows blood flow and raises the risk of stroke. So what does vitamin K2 do? Think of your body like a construction site. Calcium is the bricks. But bricks can either end up in the right place, building a strong wall, or in the wrong place, blocking the road. Vitamin K2 is like the smart builder who makes sure those bricks go where they're supposed to, into your bones and teeth, not clogging up your arteries. I remember one patient, Mr. John, 68 years old. He was very diligent about taking calcium, worried about fractures. But during a routine checkup, we discovered early signs of calcification in his coronary arteries. He was terrified, especially since his brother had died from a stroke just a few years earlier. After discussing it together, he added vitamin K2 to his diet through foods like aged cheese natto, that fermented soybean dish from Japan, and later a supplement I recommended. 6 months later, his scans showed the calcification had slowed. His blood pressure was steadier, and most importantly, he felt reassured, like he'd finally found the missing key to his health. Have you ever wondered, I take calcium all the time, so why are my bones still fragile and why do I still worry about stroke? The answer often lies in vitamin K2. It's the bridge, the traffic controller, the guide that sends calcium exactly where it's needed. From a medical standpoint, studies over the past decades show that people with enough vitamin K2 have significantly lower risk of vascular calcification. In other words, K2 doesn't just protect your bones, it's also a suit of armor for your arteries. And for those over 65, after decades of wear and tear on blood vessels, preventing calcification becomes even more critical. The challenge is vitamin K2 isn't widely available in the modern Western diet. Natto is one of the richest sources, but I know not everyone can get used to its smell or taste. The good news is you can still get K2 from aged cheeses, egg yolks, animal liver, and some fermented foods. And when diet alone isn't enough, your doctor may suggest a K2 supplement, especially if you're already taking calcium or vitamin D. I want you to picture this: a clean, free-flowing river, not blocked by chunks of limestone. That's your bloodstream when vitamin K2 is there to protect it. That steady current carries oxygen and nutrients to your brain, to your heart, to every step you take. Before we move on, let me ask you, had you ever heard of vitamin K2 before today? Or is this your very first time? Drop me a comment below. I'd love to know. Because the moment you become aware of it is the moment you can start taking action to bring it into your life. And now, since we've seen how K2 keeps calcium in its right place, let's move on to the next nutrient, what I like to call the anti-rust shield for your brain and arteries, omega-3. 4. Omega-3 and high-quality quality protein. In the last part, we talked about vitamin K2, the quiet builder that keeps your arteries clear and free from dangerous calcification. But the story of stroke prevention, nutrition, doesn't stop there. Let me tell you about another silent hero, omega-3, and a factor that many people forget: high-quality protein. Have you ever sat by the ocean watching the waves roll in, feeling your mind calm down? Omega-3 has a similar power inside your body. It soothes hidden inflammation, the silent enemy of blood vessels. When inflammation goes down, your arteries become smoother, blood flows more freely, and there's less chance for dangerous clots to form. And when blood flows like a clear river with no blockages, your risk of stroke drops significantly. I had a patient, Margaret, 72 years old. She'd lived with high blood pressure for years and struggled with high cholesterol. One day she came to me with worry in her eye. "David, I don't want to end up like my husband. He passed away from a stroke." We adjusted her diet, adding salmon sardines, a handful of walnuts, and flax seeds. Within months, her blood pressure became more stable, and she even told me her memory had improved. She wasn't as forgetful anymore. Science backs this up. Omega-3 doesn't just protect the heart, it fuels the brain, helping keep your mind sharp as the years go by. But healthy blood vessels aren't the whole story. After 60, there's another silent challenge: loss of muscle mass. Have you noticed how many older adults walk slower, fall more easily, or take longer to recover after an illness? That's not just aging, It's often due to a lack of quality protein in the diet. Protein is the building material of your body. If omega-3 is the flowing river that keeps blood moving, protein is the foundation that holds your body strong. I once cared for a stroke patient, James, age 69. After his stroke, he grew weak. Walking again felt like climbing a mountain. But with rehab therapy combined with a protein-rich diet, chicken breast, fish eggs, and Greek yogurt, he recovered faster than expected. He smiled and told me, "David, I think my meals helped me get back on my feet." I want you to picture this one day you trip in your living room. If your muscles are strong, you push yourself up, stand tall, and carry on. But if your muscles are weak, that fall could change everything, stealing your independence. That's why I always remind my patients, don't just feed your heart, feed your muscles too. Here's the important part. Omega-3 and protein don't work in isolation. They support each other. With omega-3, your blood vessels stay clear, delivering oxygen and nutrients. With protein, your muscles stay strong enough to circulate blood and keep your brain and heart nourished. It's a closed loop of health, one fuels the other. So before I move on, let me ask you, in your last meal, did you have fish or another omega-3 rich food? Did you have enough protein to feed your body? Leave me a comment below, because sometimes just one small change in your daily meals can shape the quality of your life for years to come. And now, after understanding the power of omega-3 and protein, let's continue on to explore another nutrient, one I like to call the anti-rust shield for your entire nervous system. 5. High-quality protein. We just talked about omega-3, the gentle current that keeps blood vessels flowing and the brain sharp. But here's an important truth that often gets overlooked. A healthy body isn't just about the heart or the brain. It's also about the strength of every single muscle fiber. And to maintain that strength, we need one basic building block: high-quality protein. I want you to picture this. Your body is like a house. If your bones are the frame, then your muscles are the walls that keep the house standing tall. When those walls weaken, the whole house begins to shake. After age 65, muscle loss speeds up quietly but relentlessly. That's why so many people start walking slower, lose balance, and become more prone to falls. And at this age, one fall can change everything. I had a patient, James, 69 years old. After a minor stroke, he felt his arms and legs weren't as steady, and just walking became a daily struggle. At first, he thought, this is just aging. But after some guidance, he adjusted his diet, adding more high-quality protein, lean chicken, fish eggs, Greek yogurt, and even soy. Along with rehab exercises, within just a few months, his muscle strength improved dramatically. I still remember him smiling and telling me, "David, I can walk my granddaughter around the park again without feeling tired." Have you ever felt exhausted doing something simple like carrying a laundry basket or climbing a few steps? That might not just be low energy. It could be your body warning you that your muscles are quietly fading. And when muscle weakens, blood circulation suffers. Recovery after illness, especially after stroke, slows down drastically. High-quality protein doesn't just build muscle, it speeds up healing, strengthens the immune system, and gives you steady energy. In rehab medicine, we call it the golden fuel for recovery. One patient once told me, "Doctor, I realized what I needed wasn't just medication. It was that spoonful of yogurt I had every morning." Sounds simple, doesn't it? But sometimes the truth really is that simple. What matters is quality. Not all protein is the same. A fatty cut of meat won't give the same benefit as lean chicken breast. A packet of instant noodles can't compare to an egg. That's why I always tell my patients, choose clean, easily absorbed protein, like fish, chicken, eggs, low-fat dairy, or beans. I'd like you to pause for a second and ask yourself, in yesterday's meals, how many true sources of good protein did you have? Was it enough to keep your muscles fighting against the clock of time? After more than 30 years of working with people over 50, I can tell you this: those who maintain strong muscles recover faster from illness, walk more confidently, and keep their independence far longer. And I believe none of us want to become a burden on our loved ones, right? Before we move on, if this message resonates with you, leave a comment below. Just one word. Yes is enough to let me know you're ready to care for your own muscle strength. And now, after understanding how protein protects your body, let's explore another nutrient one I like to call the conductor that keeps your heartbeat steady and your blood pressure in harmony. That nutrient is magnesium. 6. Magnesium and potassium. In the last part, we talked about high-quality protein, the foundation that keeps your body strong, helps you get back up after a fall and bounce back from illness. But strong muscles alone aren't enough. You also need a steady heartbeat and smooth blood pressure so each day flows like a calm piece of music. And to make that happen, your body relies on two golden minerals, magnesium and potassium. Have you ever felt your heart racing after a long, tiring day? Or maybe your calf suddenly cramps up at night and jolts you awake. Often that's not just age catching up with you. It's your body whispering that you might be low on magnesium or potassium. Think of your heart as a conductor. For the orchestra of your body to play in harmony, it needs quiet but essential musicians in the background. Magnesium and potassium are those musicians. Magnesium relaxes your blood vessels, so blood can flow freely without being squeezed. Potassium balances salt and water, keeping blood pressure in check. Together, they ease the strain on your heart, protect your brain, and, most importantly, lower the risk of stroke. I remember Helen, a 74-year-old patient who came to me frustrated because her blood pressure stayed high even though she was taking her meds. When I reviewed her diet, I saw that she ate a lot of processed foods, but very few greens, fruits, or nuts. We added foods rich in magnesium and potassium: bananas, sweet potatoes, spinach, almonds, even pumpkin seeds. Within 3 months, her blood pressure became more stable, and she told me, "Doctor, for the first time in years, I can sleep without worrying about sudden spikes." Have you ever wondered why traditional diets packed with vegetables and whole grains helped our grandparents live longer with fewer heart problems? Science today confirms it. They were naturally getting plenty of magnesium and potassium. Once you reach your 50s, 60s, even 70s, your body isn't as flexible as before. Your blood vessels are like old pipes. They stiffen over time. Without enough magnesium to help them relax, the pressure builds up inside, and one day those pipes may burst, leading to a stroke. Without enough potassium, sodium from salt takes over, and your blood pressure keeps climbing. Picture a dried-out garden with cracked soil and wilting plants. That's a body lacking minerals. But when you water it and give it nutrients, the garden comes back to life. Magnesium and potassium are like that water. They soothe your vessels, keep your heart beating steadily, and give you more healthy years to enjoy. A large U.S. study found that people with diets high in potassium had up to a 21% lower risk of stroke. Magnesium has also been shown to lower blood pressure in both middle-aged and older adults. This isn't marketing, so it's real science proven over years and thousands of patients. So before we move on, let me ask you, did you have a banana, a handful of nuts, or a plate of leafy greens today? If not, maybe it's time to let magnesium and potassium become part of your everyday meals. And now, after seeing the power of these two golden minerals, let's move to another nutrient. 7. Vitamin C. We just talked about magnesium and potassium, two golden minerals that help your heart relax and your blood vessels stay at ease. But there's another nutrient that works quietly in the background, like a careful builder strengthening the walls of your blood vessels so they don't crack and break with age. That's vitamin C. I want you to picture your body as a house that's been through more than 60 seasons of rain and sun. The walls begin to crack, the bricks loosen. If you don't repair them, even a small storm could bring the whole thing down. In your body, those walls are your blood vessels, and vitamin C is like the cement. It helps build collagen, keeping those vessels strong, flexible, and resilient. One of my patients, George, 68, once suffered a mini stroke. After that, he told me he felt weaker. His skin wrinkled faster, and even small cuts healed much more slowly. When I checked, we found he was severely low in vitamin C. because he rarely ate fresh fruits or vegetables. We added oranges, grapefruit, bell peppers, and kiwis to his diet. Just a few months later, he came back looking healthier with more energy. He smiled and told me, "Doctor, I feel like my blood vessels are stronger from the inside out." Have you noticed how, when you were younger, a scratch healed almost overnight, but after 60, even a small wound can take days? That's because collagen, the body's natural glue, isn't produced as much as before. And vitamin C is the raw material your body needs to make collagen. Without it, your blood vessels become fragile, tear more easily, and your risk of stroke or bleeding goes up. What's interesting is that many people only think of vitamin C as the cold prevention vitamin, but its role goes far beyond that. It's a shield against free radicals. It lowers inflammation, and it protects every blood vessel cell from early aging. Medical studies also show that people with vitamin C-rich diets have fewer clogged arteries and recover faster after a stroke. Think of a riverbank. If the walls are strong, even rushing water can erode them easily. But if the walls are weak, one heavy rain can wash them away. Your blood vessels work the same way. Vitamin C makes those walls strong and able to withstand the daily pressure of life. So every time you eat an apple, enjoy an orange, or pile more greens onto your plate, remember you're giving your blood vessels a protective shield. That's not just nutrition, that's an investment in your future for more healthy years with your family. And now, after understanding the powerful role of vitamin C, let's move on to another key nutrient, a companion that keeps your mind clear, your mood steady, and plays a big role in preventing stroke. That's vitamin D3. 8. Vitamin D3. We just talked about vitamin C, the diligent builder that keeps your blood vessels strong. But there's another nutrient one that feels like sunlight warming your skin, giving life to every cell in your body. That's vitamin D3. Picture this: every morning the sunlight streams through your window, warming your face and hands. That comforting glow isn't just pleasant, it's the moment your body quietly makes a gift for you, vitamin D3. But as we age, we tend to spend less time outdoors, we stay inside more, and even sunscreen, though useful, can block the body from making this vital nutrient. Vitamin D3 isn't just about strong bones, as many people believe. It plays a direct role in your brain, your heart, and your immune system. Did you know that a deficiency in vitamin D3 raises your risk of high blood pressure, artery stiffness, and even stroke? I've seen many patients over 65 come in complaining of constant fatigue, low mood, or memory decline. And when we tested them, the underlying issue was a vitamin D3 deficiency. One patient, Margaret, 72, told me she always felt down during the winter. "I don't know why, but I feel sad, I can't sleep well, and my memory isn't the same," she said. Her blood test showed her vitamin D3 levels were far below the healthy range. After supplementation within a few months, she told me, "Doctor, I feel like I came back to life. I have more energy, more motivation, and my mind feels clearer." That's the power of vitamin D3. It lifts both the body and the spirit. Let me ask you, have you ever felt your mood dip for no obvious reason? Or maybe your joints ache, your muscles weaken faster than you expected. Sometimes that's not just aging. It's your body calling out for vitamin D3. Here's something crucial. Vitamin D3 helps your body absorb calcium properly. Without it, calcium can end up in the wrong places, not strengthening your bones, but hardening your blood vessels. That buildup contributes to arterial calcification, one of the major causes of stroke. That's why I often say vitamin D3 and vitamin K2 work like partners, guiding calcium into the bones where it belongs, keeping your arteries clear and your heart strong. Modern research confirms this. People with healthy vitamin D3 levels have a significantly lower risk of stroke. Why? Because this vitamin reduces inflammation, helps regulate blood pressure, and protects brain cells from damage. Just one nutrient, yet it touches the entire cardiovascular and nervous system. The good news is it's not hard to get more vitamin D3. A little morning sun for 15-20 minutes, eating fatty fish like salmon or sardines, enjoying egg yolks, or simply taking a quality supplement when needed. These are simple, practical steps. I always tell my patients vitamin D3 isn't just a vitamin, it's the sunlight you carry inside your body. And if you're over 60, I encourage you to treat checking your vitamin D3 levels as a routine, just like checking blood pressure or taking your daily walk, because it doesn't just add years to your life, it adds life to your years, helping you wake up each day with strength, clarity, and joy. Now, after understanding the vital role of vitamin D3, let's move on to another key factor. Not a vitamin this time, but something many people overlook: fiber. Few realize how much fiber influences blood flow and heart health, but the truth is it can make all the difference in preventing stroke. 9. Soluble fiber. I want you to picture your gut like a garden. If the soil is rich, full of healthy microbes, the plants thrive, the fruits grow heavy on the branches. But if the soil is poor, lacking nutrients, the plants weaken and pests take over. Our gut works the same way. And soluble fiber is like the rich compost that nourishes that inner garden of microbes. Soluble fiber has a remarkable power. It binds to the bad LDL cholesterol in your gut, locks it up, and carries it out through digestion. I often tell my patients, soluble fiber is like a hard-working street cleaner, sweeping away the debris before it clogs the city's roads. In this case, those roads are your arteries. Without that cleanup, LDL builds up into thick walls of plaque, and plaque is the silent enemy that leads to stroke. One of my patients, James 68, was amazed when he discovered how much difference a simple diet change could make. Just by adding oats, apples, and fiber-rich vegetables within a few months, his LDL cholesterol dropped and even his blood sugar improved. He said to me, "Doctor, I never thought something as simple as a bowl of oatmeal in the morning could change my test results like this." And it's true, small daily habits, repeated over time, can protect us from life-altering events like stroke. Have you ever noticed how heavy and sluggish you feel after a greasy, meat-heavy meal, and how light and refreshed you feel after eating fruits, vegetables, or whole grains? That's not just in your head. That's the real impact of soluble fiber on your digestion, blood sugar, and heart. What's even more fascinating is how soluble fiber feeds your gut's good bacteria. These bacteria produce short-chain fatty acids, natural anti-inflammatory signals that keep your blood vessels flexible and lower the risk of clots. Science calls this the gut-heart-brain axis, a delicate connection showing how a healthy gut can actually protect your heart and your brain. Once you're past 60, digestion isn't as strong as it used to be. The process slows down, your intestines move food more sluggishly, and issues like constipation, blood sugar spikes, and high cholesterol become more common. That's why getting enough soluble fiber isn't just a tip, it's a survival strategy. The good news: soluble fiber is easy to find. It's in oats, apples, oranges, carrots, lentils, peas, and even something as simple as a spoonful of chia seeds or flax seeds soaked in water each day. Everyday foods, simple, affordable, but they act as armor for your arteries and heart. I often remind my patients every spoonful of oats you eat today is one more step away from a stroke tomorrow. And when you keep this habit, you'll notice your blood pressure steady, your energy stronger, and your mind clearer. So don't underestimate soluble fiber. It doesn't just keep you regular, it quietly extends the life of your heart and brain. And now, after understanding the power of soluble fiber, let's move on to another nutrient often called the gatekeeper of oxygen in your blood. That's iron. And iron doesn't just connect to your blood, it determines how well your brain gets the oxygen it needs to stay sharp and strong. 10. Antioxidants. We just talked about soluble fiber, the quiet street sweeper that clears away harmful buildup in your blood vessels. But let me tell you, there's an enemy even more dangerous. You can't see it with your eyes, but it silently attacks every single cell in your body. That enemy is the free radical. And to fight it off, we need a powerful army called antioxidants. Think of your body like a house. Over time, wind, rain, and storms wear it down. Paint peels, steel rusts, walls weaken, Inside your body, the same thing happens. Every breath you take, every meal, every bit of stress produces free radicals, unstable molecules that damage cells just like rust eating away at metal. Without antioxidants, your body is like a house falling apart far too quickly, waiting to collapse. One of my patients, Linda, 72, once came to me complaining, "Doctor, I feel so tired lately, my memory is slipping, my skin looks dull, and my hair is falling out." When I looked at her diet, I noticed she barely ate any fresh fruits or vegetables, mostly processed foods. After just 3 months of adding antioxidant-rich foods like blueberries, kale, green tea, and a handful of walnuts, she came back smiling. She said, "I feel younger, my mind is clearer, and I don't feel as heavy as before." Have you ever noticed how energized and light you feel after a day of eating fresh fruits and vegetables? That's not just in your head, that's the real work of antioxidants, neutralizing free radicals, lowering inflammation, and protecting the blood vessels and brain cells that keep you alive and sharp. Science has shown that oxidative stress, when free radicals overwhelm your body's defenses, is one of the biggest drivers of atherosclerosis, high blood pressure, and stroke. But when you load up on antioxidants, it's like giving your heart and brain a shield of armor against that invisible enemy. And here's the good news. Antioxidants aren't only found in superfoods like blueberries or pomegranates. Everyday foods in your kitchen, carrots, tomatoes, leafy greens, oranges, lemons, even a cup of green tea are full of these protective compounds. I always remind my patients, every fresh vegetable and every piece of fruit you eat is another brick strengthening the foundation of your health. Day by day, month by month, year by year. That consistency is what keeps you standing strong through the storms of aging. So don't underestimate antioxidants. They don't just give you healthier skin or sharper thinking. More importantly, they safeguard your blood vessels and brain, cutting down your stroke risk as you get older. And now, after understanding the power of antioxidants, let's move to something equally important, the practical principles. Because nutrition only truly matters when you know how to put it into practice every single day. Practical principles. I've met so many patients who take notes carefully, nod along during consultations, and seem to understand nutrition really well. But the moment they step out of my office, daily life sweeps them away. Fast food convenience, meals, old habits, they all come rushing back. And a few months later, they're back in my clinic facing the exact same problems. So what makes the difference? It's the principle of practice. Knowledge is just a seed. If you don't plant it, water it, and care for it, the tree of health will never grow. Let me paint a picture. How does your day usually start? Breakfast, maybe a pastry and a rushed cup of coffee. Lunch, a quick canned meal. And dinner when you're tired, fried, or greasy food again. That's the cycle. And I get it, changing isn't easy, but it's not impossible either. One of my patients, Robert, 68, had a mild stroke. When I suggested a diet change, he sighed, "Doctor, I've been eating this way for 60 years. How can I change now?" I smiled and told him, "Robert, you don't have to change everything in one day. Start small." Together, we decided at lunch he'd add one bowl of vegetables. That's it. 3 months later, not only had he lost some weight and stabilized his blood pressure, but he also asked to add fruit to his breakfast. Step by step, new habits were built. So the first principle, don't aim for perfection, start small. Swap an apple for a pastry, a bowl of vegetable soup instead of French fries, a glass of water instead of soda. Do you think you can try that? The second principle, consistency matters more than perfection. I've seen people eat perfectly healthy for a week, then quit because it felt too hard. But here's the truth, health isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. Eating well 70 to 80% of the time is enough to make a big difference. The third principle, listen to your body. Your body is wise. When you eat fiber-rich foods, vitamins, and fresh produce, you feel lighter, clearer, and more energized. When you overload on sugar or greasy meals, You feel sluggish and heavy. Why not let your body be your teacher? And here's something powerful: share your journey with loved ones. I've seen families where one person started eating healthy and slowly the whole household joined in. They cooked together, shopped together, even grew vegetables in the garden. The result wasn't just better health, it was stronger bonds and more joy in daily life. Have you noticed that when you eat better, your mood improves too? Science shows that diets rich in antioxidants, fiber, and vitamins not only lower stroke risk, but also reduce anxiety, depression, and even sharpen memory. That's a double gift you give yourself. So today, right after watching this video, I want you to ask yourself, tomorrow, what's the smallest change I can start with? Maybe a new vegetable, a cup of green tea instead of strong coffee, a home-cooked meal instead of fast food. Just start, and your body will know how to thank you. And that, my friends, is how we move from knowledge to real health. One small step, one choice, one day at a time. Because true health doesn't come from big dramatic decisions. It comes from the simple things we repeat every single day. My friends, we've walked quite a journey together today, from understanding what a stroke really is to exploring the nutrients and habits that can protect your brain, your heart, and every single blood vessel in your body. I know sometimes you may wonder, at my age, can I really do this? And my answer will always be yes. Because every small choice you make today, a glass of water, a meal full of vegetables, a habit of going to bed on time, these are the bricks that build your health for tomorrow. I've seen patients in their 70s make changes step by step, and a year later they return to my clinic with brighter eyes, steadier steps, and a smile full of confidence. That tells me, and it should tell you too, that it's never too late to begin. If today's message touched you, I'd love for you to spread it. Hit like, share it with your loved ones and friends, because sometimes one small change, one shared video can truly save a life. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so every week we can meet again, learning together how to live healthier, fuller, and more meaningful lives. You and I were on this journey of protecting our golden years, and it's a journey filled with hope.